Hello everybody, it's Jen, Scrapbena Creations. I'm here with the June Scrapping for Less Flavor of the Month card kit. It is themed at the beach, and these are the first 5 cards for a 10 card 2-part video. So the first stamp set I'm using is the cute little sea-prise stamp set by Avery L. So the first card I'm going to make is using this shark. I'm using my cool grays here. I've laid them all out. The darkest that I'm using for the shark is the C7. And then I will use the C5, the C3, and a little bit of the C1. So I'm just laying down my first layer of color here. And I started with the C7 marker and will work my way down. I left all of the coloring in for this video. I know a lot of you do like to see the coloring, so this is a bit of a longer video for a 5 card, but it's because of the coloring, so I hope you enjoy. This little cutie was so fun to color. I'm just shading the inside of his underneath here. I was going to say belly, but it's not just his belly because it's part of his face too. So that's the C1, and I'm just putting a little bit of shading underneath the rope where his little crown is. It would leave a tiny bit of shadowing, and then I'm just going in with my blender colorless marker to really fade that out so he mostly looks like he has a white underbelly. For his mouth, I'm using the C9. Now, I did see where one of the design team members from Avery L put in a little tongue, which I thought was adorable and just kind of gave him even more character. So I just drew that in with my marker, and then I'm going to shade around the tongue and the teeth with the C9. So I'm not doing any shading, just one color here so it looks black. And just needed to fix up that line a little bit there. So once I get that finished, I'm going to do another darker coat of the outer side, the skin, or I don't know my shark parts, but where the outer side is drawn in here. So I'm just going to darken that up quite a bit. So you'll see the C7, the C5, and the C3. And that will give him some nice variation. I just thought the little bit darker would be good with the darkness of the mouth that I colored in. So for his crown, I'm using some Spectrum Noir markers in TB7 and TB5. Now I'm getting the color inspiration from the paper that I'm going to use. Gave him a little bit of cheeks, and then colored in the tongue. So I'm using R20, which is the darker of the two, and the R30. And once I get that down, I realized that I wanted it a little bit pinker, so I brought in the R81. And I like the coloring that that gave mixed with the other two. So I'm going to be using card sketch number 4 here, and I cut out a piece of this ocean paper with a stitched circle die, and I'm going to use my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut one of the waves here so that I can slip this shark into the ocean like he's popping up from the ocean to give some birthday hellos. I absolutely love that ocean paper. It is so pretty. I love the dark blues mixed with the light blue and white, and then the darkest blue is almost black, so it goes really well with the card. So as you saw in sketch number 4, there are 3 lines, and I just used this striped pattern paper that came in the kit, and I'm putting them in order of how they appear on the wave pattern paper there, so they match. So the darkest to the bottom, and then the mid-tone blue and the light blue. Now there is a flag banner on the card sketch, so I'm using this blue pattern paper for that. And then I'm going to adhere the circle panel once I get this trimmed down to match the card base. All of my cards are A2 size cards today, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive glue, and now I'm going to add the sentiment which says hope your birthday is swell. So I added some black glaze pen to the eyes and then brought in a white jelly pen here to do some detailing on the crown, and then I also used it for his teeth to give him some nice pearly white sharp teeth. So here's the card with the sketch, and I cut out a shark bite at the top right hand corner of the card, and I guess my video didn't turn on, but I really like the way that turned out. I was sad that it wasn't filmed, but I basically just used a pencil to outline it at first and then just used my scissors to cut that out. So I'm using the same stamp set for card number 2, which is this adorable little puffer fish. And again, I'm using the pattern paper that I'm going to be using to help me with my colors. So for this coloring, I'm just going to do the fish and his little accents, his party hat, and his little birthday blower. I just did off camera to save some time. So I'm using my B02 and my B00. And there's a little fish on the paper that I'm going to be using. And it is a blue color like this. And the very bottom of his little belly is also got a line of blue, so I'm going to add that in to my coloring for this image, and I think he turned out really cute. So I feel like this kit was a hit for a number of reasons. I love the beach theme, anything to do with summer, but I also got 2 what I would call masculine cards. So I think the first one with the shark could definitely be a masculine card. And then this card as well, I had my father-in-law in mind actually when I was making this card. So here's where I'm doing the blue underbelly. Now I'm going to be using card sketch number 2 here as a little bit of inspiration. So I'm using my Tumble Glass Distress ink here just to do a light distress background for where my little pufferfish is going to adhere to. I'm going to use my distress sprayer here and spritz on some water in order to give a little bit of detail to that panel. Here's the pattern paper that I was talking about, this adorable fish pattern paper. And then I'm using this wave piece. This is just an extra cut off piece that I had from cutting out that rectangle. And I'm going to use this orange polka dot paper from the Doodlebug Summer Collection. And there I'm going to add down that piece that I used the distress ink for. And then I'm going to add my sentiment, which reads, "A little extra puff for all those candles," which is so adorable. So I'm going to add that on to the card. I'm going to get my little fish here in place. And I just used some 3M foam tape to pop him up with his little birthday blower. I don't know what you call those things. So I have not used one of those in a very long time. But anyhow, so just doing some detailing for his eye. And where the button and the bow was, I used the wood-shaped anchor. And there is card number 2 complete. So I think this is a really cute masculine card. For card number 3, I'm using the exclusive stamp set. This one is by Sunny Studio, and it is called Sending Sunshine. So I'm coloring up the palm tree, and I've got my Spectrum Noirs back out. So I'm using GB2, GB1, which is actually darker than GB2, and then GB3. And I'm just coloring that, so the darkest parts is where the little pieces of the palm tree meet. And then I'm going in with my greens here for the palm leaves. And so I'm using JG2, JG5, and JG7. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So using the darkest colors in the center, and then where the leaves would have a shadow from the one on top of them. Starting off with my darkest markers and then going out with my lightest markers. And I am going to do 2 coats of coloring here as well with these markers, just to get at the color that I wanted. I wanted the dark in the center to really show, and found that I needed to do another coat of that. But this image was really easy to color. I felt like the palm tree base, or the trunk, was a little bit too yellowy orange. So I brought in my warm gray 1 and just went over top of that. So for this card, I'm using that amazing paper. It's a beach scene. I'm bringing in the tumbled glass again for a little bit of a sky, and then I'm using my antique linen to do the sand and also vintage photo, and I forgot to dab off my vintage photo the first time I used it, so it got a little darker than I wanted, but I just blended it back out with the antique linen. So for the sentiment I chose, let's head to the beach. And I just stamped that out on a scrap piece of cardstock with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm going to trim that down, and then I'm going to make this into a fishtail banner, just using my Cutter Bee detailed scissors. And I'm going to adhere this to, well, in front of the palm tree and the oval. So I'm going to cut first the wave or ocean part of my back panel, which I'd cut out with a stitched rectangle die from Lawn Fawn. I'm going to pop the ocean piece up on some fun foam. I'm going to do the same with the oval. So I'm just going to get that on my card base here. I just wanted to add a little bit of interest to the card, seeing I was basically just using the pattern paper, but I loved this paper so much. It just reminded me of when we traveled down south to all-inclusive beaches with everybody hanging out at the beach, and just made me really happy, so I wanted to use it. So I'm going to put the oval here to the left bottom part of the card, and I'm going to adhere the palm tree with some glue. I didn't put glue to the ends of the leaves because I wanted to curl them up a bit. So I did put some fun foam underneath the banner where it was going to hang off of the oval. And then I decided that I wanted to stamp hello. So I'm using the Foodie Friends by Simon Says stamp, and I just stamped the hello by those people laying on the beach. And I thought it just added a little bit of kind of cuteness for a greeting card. So, you know, hello, I missed you kind of thing. Let's go hang out at the beach. Oh, that would be so nice. So use some glossy accents for details, and then used my Wink of Stella for the sand, which gave it some nice shimmer. I was just trying to show you some of the dimension. I thought the gloss on the umbrellas and the little beach hut was really sweet. So now moving on to card number 4, I'm using sketch number 1 as inspiration. I'm not going to use the little flag banners that are behind the rectangle. So I cut this adorable fish paper with a rectangle die as well. And then the orange piece of paper was left over from the second card that I made. So I was able to use up that scrap, which was great. And these little Finding Nemos all over this page are so adorable. I forget what the actual name of the fish is. I meant to look it up before I started doing the voiceover, but I forgot. So I'm adding my own twist to the sketch. I'm using this circle. This is a waved pattern paper. And I'm just showing you here, I stamped out the little Finding Nemo using Under the Sea by, well, the stamp set is called Vitamin C by Echo Park. So if you got the orange ink cube in the kit, you could use that. I ended up using the Carved Pumpkin Distress Oxide ink. And then I used my Memento Tuxedo black marker just to add the black detailing. Stamped the sentiment, "Just keep swimming." So cute. And then added some glaze pen to the eye there, and that's that card. And that could actually be a masculine card too. I mean, it's gender neutral for sure, but could be used for a boy. So on to card number 5. I'm going to be doing stamping only. So I'm using Tattered Rose, Worn Lipstick, and Picked Raspberry. And I'm using this adorable little jellyfish that came in the Vitamin C stamp set. So the first color I used was the Tattered Rose, and then I'm just sort of dabbing on the Worn Lipstick for the second layer, and then I'm going to add on the Picked Raspberry. And I just wanted these all 3 jellyfish to look different, so I did keep all 3 in just so you could see how many times I stamped them if you wanted to recreate this card, and so you could see the different kind of color variations. I want the one at the top to actually be the lightest, so I'm using very little of the Worn Lipstick and the Picked Raspberry. I love the way these guys turned out. They're so cute. Decided to go back over it with the Tattered Rose. I think these jellyfish would look super sweet in purples or teals as well as a color palette. They're just so fun to create with just stamping and nothing else. And now I'm going to work on the third little cutie here. So stamp that out, added the Worn Lipstick, and this one I'm going to make the darkest of the 3. So you can see I'm adding a number of layers. They will, I can't think of the word. The color will blend nicely together once it dries. So I decided to use the Just Breathe sentiment from the exclusive Stamping for Less Beach Sentiment stamp set that came in the banana split level. I thought that was kind of funny. You know, a cute card for someone, you know, for encouragement or just needs a pick-me-up if something's kind of going on in their lives that's a bit hard. And I thought it was kind of cute to have Just Breathe with a bunch of jellyfish, because if you saw a bunch of jellyfish, you would probably find it a little difficult to just breathe if you were swimming with them. And you saw there I used the black glaze pen again just to add in their eyes. So I added some of the sequins here. I just picked out some of the pink ones. Now I'm going over them with glossy accents to make them look like jelly. And there's card number 5. Once I show a close-up of this card, I'll go through all 5 here. I will have another 5-card video to complete the 10 cards from this kit. I absolutely love this kit and can't wait to see what everyone else creates with it. So please feel free to let me know which card is your favorite. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for leaving such kind comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!